icon, and then you would give your name, and you would address the council about what you want to say. And so
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The mayor will not be with us today. Everything is fine. She just had a conflict that she had to adjust. And so as vice chair, I will lead today's meeting of the City of Las Vegas, the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial for March 25th, 2024. We're calling this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Chair Goodman, excused. Commissioner Stodel.
Present.
Commissioner Bryan.
Present.
Commissioner Arnold. Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Coffin. Commissioner Hilton. Commissioner Sinek.
Here.
Commissioner Mowbray.
Here.
Commissioner Drewsdale. Commissioner Brandenburg. Commissioner Creer. Commissioner Mills.
Present.
Commissioner Prado.
Here.
Commissioner Diaz. Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Great. Thank you. And on telephone, do we have anyone?
We don't have anyone on the phone.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Councilman Coffin, did you record me?
Excuse me.
As president, did you record me?
Yes.
Mark him as tardy, however, please. They knew.
Before we proceed, I would like to confirm that we are in compliance with the open meeting law.
Sorry. Yes, we are in compliance.
Thank you. Move on to agenda item 3 during this item, which is the public comment period. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Would anybody like to speak at this point?
He says he'd like to be counted.
I think we had Councilman Creer coming.
Yes. And for the record, there is nobody that has come forward with the exception of Councilman Creer, who is now in attendance. Thank you. Agenda item 4, this is a possible action item. Approve the final minutes by reference to the meeting of January 22nd, 2024. Any corrections, changes, or adjustments? Anybody?
And I'll move that we approve the minutes.
We have a motion.
Move for approval.
We have a second. Or do we have any comment from the commission? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excuse me, I just want to verify, it was Commissioner Bryan that made the motion?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with those in attendance and the chair voting in favor. Let's move on to agenda item 5, with a report by the City of Las Vegas Finance Department regarding the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial budget for the fiscal year 2024. Welcome, and please announce whom you are.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Kathy Nye for the record, and I will be presenting the financial information for the Commission as of February of 2024. So we have total revenues of $1.1 million and total expenditures of $1.4 million, resulting in a decrease in net assets of $322,000, and then an ending net assets of $6.3 million.
Any other highlights?
No new highlights. We do have the YouTube receipts here of $25,000 broken out here under miscellaneous income. I think that was an item of curiosity.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question.
Please.
Appropriate. Yeah, I've been reviewing the last minutes of the last meeting. It indicated that our revenues were less than our expenses in that time frame, if I read that correctly. Is that part of a trend? And help me to understand where we are as the expert that watches over these budgetary matters for us.
Sure. So yes, it has to do with the timing of when the revenues are collected versus when we actually pay expenditures for grants that we've been approved for. If we look at the over and under, like the amount that we're due to collect is still another $700,000 to close off the fiscal year. And then there's other committed grants that we will be spending. So essentially, we've committed to where we'll only have about $3 million net assets available for future grant given.
Other questions? Comments? Just a real fast, on the far right-hand column, the KCEP documentary, there's still $39,000 available that we haven't paid.
Correct.
And the same for the Ma Museum documentary, there's $154,000?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Are any of these, the funds in this area, maybe Dr. Seabrand, do we anticipate all the money being spent in these categories? Do you have any way to judge that?
Seabrand for the record. No, we don't have any way of knowing that. I mean, sometimes grants, the grantee does not spend all the money, and the money that is not spent just goes back into the commission's budget. And most do spend up to the last dollar, but it's difficult to say who's going to be under budget and who's going to be on the mark.
Is there a process to where they say this is our last bill, and or is there a clock running to where after a certain point they can't ask for any more money?
So we do require, when they do submit their final invoice, to let us know it is the final invoice. We have that in writing. And if it's the amount is still remaining in their budget, we let finance know, and they close out that grant and put the money back in. And per the grant agreement, they are required to give their report within 90 days of the grant, and that's what we use for the cutoff date.
Thank you. Thank you. Further questions, comments? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to agenda item 6, 23-0669-CLC1. This is an abeyance item. Possible action regarding approval of a grant request of $1.5 million by the Dapper Companies for costs associated with creating, planning, and design documents for restoration and rehabilitation of the Huntridge Theater and restoration work on historic elements next to the theater located at 1208 East Charleston Boulevard. Dr. Seabrand?
Thank you, Seabrand, for the record. The applicant has asked for this item to be obeyed to the May Centennial Commission meeting.
This is a second abeyance or the third?
So this would be the second.
Okay. Is there a limit on abeyances?
No.
Okay. All right. Further question from the commission? If not, look for a motion.
Move to obey if it's in order, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. We have a motion.
Brown.
We have a motion to obey to the next meeting. I think the next meeting date is
May 22nd.
May 22nd. That's part of your motion to the
That
next.
would be part of my motion. And, Mr. Chairman, if appropriate, I think we need to make them aware that these advances are not going to be automatic indefinitely.
Okay,
There has
I
to be
know.
some moment in time where, look, we fish or cut bait, and some of these items to back up this 1.5 million are, I think, of some question that the board may very well want to explore more in depth.
Okay, I think we have a motion to obey until our May meeting.
Correct, and I have a correction on that. The meeting date is, that's one that's been moved, is May 13th. May
May
13th.
Mr. Chair?
The motion is to obey till May the 13th. That is the motion. The other part of that from the Commissioner Bryant is to simply to let Mr. Dapper know there is some concern. It's my understanding that abeyances can legally go on forever.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Please.
if you don't mind.
Please.
So yes, I mean technically they can. You can get an extension of time, but we having sort of an unwritten rule, and Seth can sort of talk about this for planning. We obey a couple times. Maybe if it goes to like a third time, then it really has to have some extenuating circumstances. Now, technically, it is in the discretion of the council person whose ward is in, if they would like to extend it. But usually, you're either going to have to pull it, you're gonna table it, take it off, or you're going to withdraw without prejudice. At some point, though, as the senator stated, it gets to a point. But usually it sort of falls into the discretion at the lead, not the final, but at the lead of the council person who is in that particular ward.
Right. All right, so the actual motion itself is to obey till our May 13th meeting. Further discussion by the commission? General public, any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with those in attendance and the chair voting in favor. And the second part of that is just a communication
Yeah.
with the applicant.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
on the same subject but not on the vote. The question I have is who on our staff talks to Mr. Dapper?
Sebring, for the record, I speak to him.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, I know him real well, maybe I could also call him and talk to him. Because he's heavily invested in Ward 3, and I'm sorry that the councilwoman is not here to really press it home. But please, you go ahead and do the same thing you would ordinarily do. I'm just going to call him as a friend. Thank you.
All right, then let's move on to agenda item 8, which is 24-0142-CLC1.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Did I purposely skip 7? I
Just to see if
didn't.
we're awake, I think.
I was just checking to see if everybody else on the same page as I am, which is item number 7, 24-0141-CLC1, report by staff from the City of Las Vegas Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs Department regarding an update on the Charleston Boulevard Underpass mural project located at West Charleston Boulevard between South Commerce Street and South Centennial. The underpass, Charleston Underpass, for those that want a memory jog, was built in 1949.
Yep.
This was not, by the way, Dr. Sebring, the commission didn't fund this project, did we?
Sebring, for the record, no. This is a request. There was a request from the board to have an item on what was happening with the Charleston underpass. I believe at one point in time there may have been a thought it may have been historical in nature, and so we did ask Cultural Affairs to give us this report. It's just for information.
Great. Well, we appreciate it's an important important underpass and important cultural event. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Laura Machado for the record, Public Art and Galleries Section Manager. As mentioned, we're here to give an update about a project that's currently in progress in downtown Las Vegas. It's the West Charleston Boulevard Railroad Underpass Mural Project. The city, in partnership with the Las Vegas Arts Commission, has hired an artist to create a mural for the underpass, and Holly's going to share a little bit more information about the project.
Hello, Holly Lay for the record. I am currently managing the Charleston Underpass Mural Project and working with artist Eric Vizzola. He is currently painting the eastbound side of the underpass and anticipates that each quadrant will take approximately 2 weeks to complete, with the entire mural expected to be finished within 6 weeks. Spanning an area of approximately 23,400 square feet, this project has a budget of $195,000. The project's selection process was meticulous and thorough. We issued a request for statements of qualifications on November 9th, 2022, and advertised it on the City of Las Vegas Arts Registry website. An evaluation committee comprising 7 members appointed by Cultural Affairs staff diligently reviewed submissions. This committee included representatives from various sectors, ensuring diverse perspectives were considered. After multiple meetings and a public presentation from the top finalist, Eric Vizzola's work stood out as the unanimous choice. Eric, a full-time artist based in Las Vegas, holds a BFA from UNLV in graphic design, and his passion for art, family, and environmental advocacy shines through in his work. Here is the sample from his design. If you guys are driving on Charleston, you've probably seen one of them already finished, and it looks very exact to what he proposed. This piece will be a gateway from the medical and arts districts, connecting the two with iconography that comes from both of those subjects. In closing, I wanted to express the excitement for the rapid progress of the project. With Eric's talent and dedication, we're confident that the West Charleston Boulevard underpass mural will become a beloved landmark in our community. And thank you for your attention today.
Question, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. The question I have is, first of all, I'm happy you started. But I had a question because I've been driving up there all my life. Is the concrete stable now? Has it been repaired? Because you could see in other words, humping coming up the swelling. And I would have thought that there would have been minor repairs.
It's a great question. We have been working with NDOT. This project actually took about 3 years to get approval. And we've had a logistics company go through, clean the area, make sure that there are cracks in the concrete, and we had to stay within a certain area away from the railroad underpass. NDOT would only give us a permit up to a certain point. So we're not actually under the railroad overpass. It's the barriers leading up to and then going past. There are cracks, there are some vegetation. However, it shouldn't impact the mural. We didn't see any seepage of water or issues in that regard. At this point, we don't have any issues with the concrete. That being said, in the future.
Now, if you've corrected the problem or if you have stopped the problem, that is good, because it's water lands up here and over here, and then it seeps slowly behind and finds its way.
I think Public Works probably has a better answer for the water drainage, but I know that they've done a lot of work to improve that. I remember when I was a child, it was a swimming pool, and it no longer is.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So I think that would be probably Public Works would have a better answer.
Okay, so I know it's a harbor for many, many people that like to live there. And have we made any kind of attempt to reach out to the denizens who hang there frequently and ask them to help, keep it safe? Have we got any buy-in from the homeless people that live there, hang out there?
Not per se the unhoused community, but we
Because
have...
it'll get messed up pretty fast if you don't have cooperation of the homeless.
We're going to be covering it with anti-graffiti coating, and we've been working with the gentleman related to Ironworks. Is anyone here related to Ironworks? Okay.
He's got something to do with it.
In fact, I have some questions when the commissioner is done.
Yeah, well, I guess
If it's
the only
okay.
thing I would say is it sounds like you've got it good. I hope there's an extra couple of coats of some sort of real proofing on top. Real stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I'd like to add a few things. My name is Commissioner Prado, and I'm the owner of Artistic Iron, which is closely related to what's going on. And for years, I've been wanting to see something happen there, and finally, thank you, Parks and Recreation, you're doing something. But can I comment? The commissioner was right. You would think that in the contract, that when painting it, he primed it, he's painting it, he's doing a great job. But there are major cracks that could have just been with concrete flow. It's a bucket of stuff. You could have smoothed it out and made it look decent before you put the paint on so that it looks good. If you slow up, there's a lot of major cracks that could have been taken care of within the contract price. Sad that it didn't. But my major questions are this. I live with it every day, and I see more and more people from downtown and from the Strip walking up Commerce Street and then walking under the bridge to get over to the Outlet Mall area. And it's every day you'll see tourists that are walking. Now I want to help you here. The only people that clean any side of the street at all is us. We'll send somebody out, sweep it up, try to keep it clean, looking good. But the rest of it, because of the UPR situation, nothing is taken care of. It is trashed. There's, I don't even want to mention what the bums had done underneath the bridge, but our tourists walk up underneath that bridge and have to go through piles of mess. Walk underneath it, you'll understand what I'm saying. I've been there many times. So, the street lights are not new, if you've noticed. The city had to stop putting the new street lights in because the UPR owns the old street light. The old street lights don't work, they give no lighting. People still walk up and down on it. So my questions are these. The railing up underneath that hasn't been painted and God knows when. It needs painting. Is there any way that they'll allow us to clean the underneath of the bridge area, if you've been in communication with them, and changing the light poles and putting some light there for people, and then painting the rails to complement what the city has put into $200,000 worth of artwork? Those are my questions to improving the underpass at our Charleston Boulevard. Is there anything that can be done in those areas?
Ms. Trotter, for the record, we can definitely take this information back to Public Works. There's a direct communication with NDOT because that area is actually, and if anybody needs to correct me if I'm wrong, is operated by NDOT. And so everything that we do on that street, we have to get their approval. So we have in our Public Works Department someone who's in communication. I can share that information with her, and we can talk about hopefully having an answer.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of artwork, but people now are going to do this. Mark my word. They're going to park, and they're going to walk over there wanting to take pictures alongside it. You're going to see that start. And when they do, it is a filthy mess. And nobody has a routine of cleaning that underpass area up. I know, I've lived there for 20 years now. So.
Thank you. I think that you all make very, very valid points, and something that this is not my ward. This is Councilwoman Diaz's ward, and I would make a suggestion that we haven't started this. This is just getting approval for the dollars for it, right?
No, we've started it.
So you've already started it. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm a little bit more strategic about addressing things because the issues that you are talking about is something that can be worked out if you get strategic about how you go about addressing all of the issues that are taking place here. And in addition, and I'm not sure, we're doing a huge construction. Public Works infrastructure along Charleston. I'm not sure if it covers this area too. How does that tie into this? If there's issues with the grading, or if there's issues with the railing, there's issues with lighting. It's the same thing, we've addressed these issues in my ward underneath the F Street underpass, and we have designated cleanings that take place. We have memorandums of understanding with NDOT to be able to go in and do things, because NDOT will leave something sitting there and just leave it there for, it seems like, forever. And so it can be worked out, but it has to be strategic. I would probably suggest from someone, whomever that is, who's leading, we go sit down with Councilwoman Diaz and Idalina and her team, and to figure out, and our Public Works and Joey Paskey and Matthew in Operations and Maintenance, and address these issues as a whole, holistically, and then how does it affect your job and what's happening? If we do have a lot of foot traffic coming in there, how do we keep people safe? Mm-hmm. If it's going to increase foot traffic, all those things need to go into consideration.
It's going to increase traffic.
And the fact that this is the Centennial Commission, not Public Works, but we like the presentation, and it is a historical site. There's just no question about the underpass, the two underpasses. We have the one on Bonanza Road, which was Clark Avenue at the time, back in 1937, and then this one was put in 1949. Well, both are 60, 70 years old. And the fact is, this is a wonderful start, but it's clearly not the finish. We are now inviting people to come down to this area because of the artwork. But I think you understand that, and I think you heard the messages from several people here that are part of this community and have put a value to that underpass. There may be some opportunities of some funding that could come via the Centennial Commission. I would suspect that we need to shake the Union Pacific's tree a bit. They're not doing this. They're doing a terrible job as well in Sparks. So I think there's some opportunities historically, but thank you for the presentation, and we look forward to hearing more about this project.
I have a question.
Mr. Chairman, please, I defer to someone's taking recognition down there.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just this, just do it. Just clean the damn place. And, we don't need to ask permission. We don't really need to have a meeting. You just tell, come on, who outranks the city manager? Why, no one here does, but the city attorney's got a lot to say about what can be done with them without permission. I don't believe in asking permission. I just believe in doing it like we have done it before. The mayor and I had a good relationship with the railroad. I don't know what happened, but I do know that we can do it. You just do it.
Okay.
Understand?
Thank you, Councilman.
Senator? Yeah. Mr. Chairman, could I request that we get a report back at the next meeting in terms of the jurisdictions that are involved? What have we done, if anything? What difficulties are we encountering? The chairman made reference to the railroad. I've had considerable experience there. It's my assessment that we'll get approval from them, if at all, when we place a man on the moon again. So I don't think I'll see it in my time.
Again, this is not something that falls directly under Centennial's mission statement, jurisdiction, but it is a historic site, and so therefore, if you could bring us an update at our next meeting in 3 months, it would really be helpful that you have solved all the problems. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, please.
Mills for the record. While we're on this subject, I've noticed for a long time that a giant chunk of the westbound underpass on the east side of it has broken off, and that included the 1940 stamp on it. And I wondered, perhaps Commissioner Prado can tell me, has that been repaired?
No.
Okay.
No, it has not.
More opportunities. So thank you. That's a key, reflects the history, so thank you. All right, now we can move on to agenda item 8, which is 24-0142 CLC1, final report by Lynn Zook, As We Know It, LLC owner, regarding the completion of the Classic Las Vegas digitization project funded by the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial. Dr. Seabrand?
Thank you, Seabrand, for the records. This is the final report from Lynn Zook on a project that was funded by the Commission, and she has a PowerPoint slide to show everybody.
Thank you.
And I'm John Strump.
We both worked on the project, and this is our final presentation. We had the videotape sent to Iron Mountain for digitizing, and when the work was finished, this is how the files were organized.
So we received a large drive array with all the files.
Sir, could you pull a microphone closer?
Sure. So we received a large hard drive from Iron Mountain with all the files organized by the archive boxes that we handed off to them. Next slide.
Was this just one? Everything on one hard drive?
One very large hard drive, 13 terabytes of content. It was a RAID array.
Nervous when something just on one.
Yes.
As was I. So this is what we received, just raw files in random order. There were some name misspellings and file misspellings and all the usual stuff that happens in production. Let's go to the next slide. So we created a logical folder structure on another set of storage, so we had 2 copies that we were working with. And so everything is categorized by the last name of the interviewee. So it's all tidy and organized, and the intent is that once we've now handed it off to UNLV, that if someone was to pick up their drive array 10 years from now, it would be self-explanatory. We didn't want folks to have to really do a lot of work. Let's go to the next one. So each folder that UNLV received contains, in this case, this is Donna Andrus. There's an uncompressed version of the videotape and then a viewing copy. So you can see there by the file sizes, the uncompressed are huge, and the viewing copies are much smaller and more applicable to, say, web usage or just casual viewing. And so those were contained in each of the folders by name. Let's move on.
Please play the video.
And one of the things that I really enjoyed was the J.C. Penney company. It had a store next door to the Wallman Hotel, and it had oiled board floors, and the lingerie and sweatshirts and blouses were all folded and in kind of little islands on platforms between the aisles. And when you paid your money to the clerk, she put it in a little container that screwed together, and it went on a long cord up to the second story where the cashier was, and the clerk pulled a little chain, and up it went, and the girl up there unscrewed it, took the bill out, put the change in, and shoved it back down again. Boy, I was entranced with that. I used to really enjoy that.
So that's Donna Andrus. And this is representative of what a lot of the interviews were about. Some were about big events and some were about small events. So everyday life in Las Vegas. Next slide. So along with the video files, in each of those folders were the transcripts of the written transcripts of the interviews. We also went through those, cleaned them up, made certain names were spelled correctly, places were spelled correctly. And because those were created for our original production 20 years ago, and we didn't care so much about the spellings, we were just trying to get the work done. So those are all where they should be. There's also a folder there marked release. So let's go to the next slide. So, this is what one of the transcripts looks like.
There's time code notes, and there's the gory details of the interview. And most of the transcripts are, what, about 15, 20 pages?
Yeah, and they're in rich text format. So the university and the museums are not beholden to Microsoft Word or anything like that.
Yeah, we tried to keep everything as generic as possible, no proprietary stuff that Microsoft so loves. The release form, this is a PDF file, so all the interviewees released the use of their words and image going forward. Move along. So, with 650 files at our fingertips, how do we make sense out of this? So I created an Excel sheet as a basic database. So it's all the gory details of the project. First name, last name, what they did for a living, the date of the interview location, the file number that Iron Mountain tied to it, the codec of the video, the actual file name of the video, the file name of the transcript, and the file name of the release form. So users moving forward can take this information and import it into their own database, and it'll save them an awful lot of work. This too is in Microsoft Excel format, a rich text file that's comma delimited, and 2 other forms. So I hopefully future-proof this. So when someone looks at it a decade from now, they can still make sense of the data. So in the root directory of I'm getting ahead of this a little bit. I'll go back. Yep, let's go back a couple. In the root directory of the big drive we handed them, there's a folder that says read me first, and in that is an explanation of how the video files were constructed. The database information is there, and it's a roadmap of everything they'll find in the folders, organized by name. Okay.
So with 135 interviews with Las Vegans from all walks of life, that equaled 324 videotapes, 110 hours of interviews, 324 high-res copies, 324 viewing copies, 324 transcript files, which equaled 7,351 pages of proof transcripts, and 7,750 database entries.
So we tied it up with a bow, handed it to UNLV, and they went, "You did what?"
Questions, comments?
And we delivered the hard drives with all this info on Friday, March 22nd.
Is a quick question, couple of quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
Will this be available online?
That's up to UNLV.
Okay.
And the museums.
And the museums. Our goal was to give them the content in a nice package so that they could do whatever they want with it moving forward.
Okay. And they're having some issues with space online.
We all are.
Yes. Questions? I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but that's...
Yeah, it's more than a rabbit hole.
So if we were to view it now, we would simply go over to there, and I'm hoping that they will at least put online a list of the available interviews. That would be great. And even if you got to come down and see it, the first step is we have them.
Right.
The good news and bad news
step would be to put them online.
Is the uncompressed files are still about 13 terabytes of content, so that's too big for online, whereas the viewing copies are only 150 gigabytes.
Right.
So it's much simpler to place the viewing files online or to just hand them casually to someone if they need to see them.
Making it accessible is important, but the fact that you did it is more important. There are some names in there, some entertainer names, but there's also a lot of human beings in Las Vegas that would not necessarily have been interviewed and their history preserved if you hadn't done that. So thank you for all the work. And this is not just a few hours. It says hours there, but this is years of work.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
And actually, it was a kind of a cool retrospective for us, because
Yes.
even though we generated it all, going back and looking at some of the interviews and transcripts and stuff was an awful lot of fun.
yeah.
And we thank all of you for giving us the grant and making this all possible. Thank you.
We feel the money was well spent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you all. Look forward to your next project.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's move on to agenda item number 9, which is 24-0143-CLC1, final report by Heather Caputo regarding who was the director and completed the Road to El Dorado Days documentary, which is funded by the commission. This is a final report. Welcome. Dr. Seabrand, any introduction?
Seaborn for the record. No need for an introduction, just to remind everybody that this will be playing on Channel 2 tomorrow night, and we sent everybody an email with the dates of when it will be airing.
Great.
Sorry, question, but if you don't have cable, you don't get 2. So I was wondering about the other 4 or 5 popular networks. Would you just go to
There's a
YouTube?
link. So it's also on several streaming platforms, and there's a link that will take you to the movie, right? Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. I'm Heather Caputo, for the record. First off, just thank you so much all for funding this project. I'm really proud of it, and I hope that it serves well to the city of Las Vegas and provides value. I think that a well-produced documentary is invaluable when it comes to generating conversation and consideration on a project. I chose to create this film because I think it's a story that directly connects to Las Vegas's history in a powerful way. And I think El Dorado Days is also a great way to begin learning about Las Vegas history. It's a nice start. The goal of my film, The Road to El Dorado Days, like the event itself, is to help create a sense of place. We have so many new residents in town that don't really have knowledge of the history. We have residents that just don't know a whole lot that maybe have been here a long time. And I'd like to help create that sense of place as El Dorado Days says itself. The 57-minute documentary took just under a year to produce. There were 18 interviews shot in 14 locations. Some of the interviewees were suggested to me by experts, and the rest I found through my own research. This project was both really fun and challenging. Images and video were quite hard to come by. The Elks Lodge 1468, unfortunately, did not have any images, and they had been in charge of El Dorado Day since 1935. So to not have any images from them was difficult. So I went to UNLV, LVCVA area museums. A lot of people in the community had personal collections that they shared with the show as well. And the other thing is that there weren't a lot of hard facts on the subject. I really had to sift through a lot of people's personal stories, personal opinions, different perspectives in order to whittle it down into the best, most factual story that I possibly could. And I worked with experts on that as well. So I hope that I've created a product that's fair and balanced. Las Vegas's annual El Dorado Days event promotes and preserves Las Vegas history through celebration and education. Through carefully crafted storytelling and visuals and music, I hope that my documentary film has done the same. The Road to El Dorado Days film honors our city's past. It has the potential to reach many viewers, not only broadcast on television, but online, potentially on large distributors like Netflix and other things if I work forward on that. Okay. I'm happy to say that the film was submitted to the Centennial Commission on time and under budget. I break down the specifics on the document that I submitted to the Centennial. When it comes to marketing and distribution efforts, I created a strategy that I hope will connect not only now with its first broadcast tomorrow night, but also in the future. My plan focuses not only on the local and mass broadcast of the film, but also on how it can serve the community now and in the future. I've sustained promotional and community engagement efforts since receiving the Las Vegas Centennial grant. It actually began with an announcement on Lynn Zook's history blog, Classic Vegas. I did a little write-up, and she put this on her blog. We asked the public to share photos and hope that would engage people to be interested not only in sharing but interested in the film, and then get us the best images possible that we could for the documentary as well. Throughout the film production and continuing today, I've posted information, behind-the-scenes images, and write-ups on my own social media pages, and my posts received thousands of impressions. In fall of 2023, I created a Facebook page specifically for the documentary. I drive potential viewers to that. I include all sorts of information, not only about the project, but on New Year's, I had New Year's announcements and a bit of history on Las Vegas and New Year's. I went back to try to report as much as I could on as many different Las Vegas history subjects as I could. In December of 2023, I edited a 30-second promotional video, which I provided to a lot of different people, individuals and organizations that I hoped could help promote the film and potentially films in the future. On all of my social media, I recently posted the premiere air dates for the film, which we've been talking about today. It's tomorrow, March 26th on KCLV Channel 2, and then there are also numerous repeats. Sorry, I think I got a little ahead of myself here. Okay, some marketing and promotional efforts I'll use moving forward. I have some amazing full-length interviews with some amazing people, some of you here today, thank you so much. And I'd like to take those interviews and create uncut interviews out of them and then release those to help promote the show as well, put a little tag at the end that says, go and see the Road to El Dorado days. So, and I think that's a great way for people to be able to learn even more of the history, because these people that I interviewed had so much great information. On my social media, I just, oh, wait a minute, same slide, okay. Once the show is broadcast, I'll update my IMDb and Film Freeway pages to include the Road to El Dorado days. A Film Freeway presence is required for entrance into many film festivals, and film festivals are a great way to get a film out there to be seen and recognized out in the community and possibly be distributed in a larger means. I've had articles published in the widely distributed periodical Nevada Magazine. These articles were actually based on previous Vegas PBS documentaries that I had done, and they allowed me to have these published within their magazine, and I imagine that I can do the same with this documentary, creating an article on what it took to create the documentary, and then the history as it was in the past, and then moving forward as well. When it comes to public service, I think there's an opportunity to bring this program to the public directly through community showings and events such as the upcoming El Dorado Days celebrations. I know that there's another couple of films that play there during El Dorado Days, and I hope this could maybe be used in that same capacity. I'll offer the show to local museums and cultural organizations that could potentially create displays within their museums. I can offer the video to Clark County School District for use in their history curriculum. This is actually something I've done before with a couple of my previous projects. CCSD came and created learning modules out of the content from the documentary, released it into the history classes, and it's still being used there. Some of them have been used there for 5 to 6 years. So those are doing really well, and I'm very proud of that as well. The Clark County Library District has also shown some of my documentaries as part of their public film series, and I would hope that this could potentially be promoted in that way as well. All right, so the Road to El Dorado Days value extends beyond entertainment, I think. It serves as a tool. a tool for marketing the city and educating and inspiring the public. Here's a 2-minute look at the show, if we could air the video.
Yes, El Dorado days, like all of the days of the year, are happy days in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the visitor will find a world of excitement in this western wonderland of daytime sun and nighttime fun. Las Vegas is rightly called the entertainment and fun capital of the world.
Las Vegas's El Dorado Days is a Western-themed celebration that served as a beacon of hope, a rallying cry, and a survivor against all odds.
It galvanizes the people together. It tries to bring the past into the present.
Sort of put us on the map.
It was sort of symbolic of what was Las Vegas all about at the time.
The celebration of El Dorado is a celebration of the history of Las Vegas and the spirit of the entrepreneurs and the people that made Las Vegas what it is today.
The Old West still lingers for us as this idealized portrait.
There's the reality, and then there's Hollywood reality. They're two very different things. Las Vegas saw great opportunity in the Old West fantasy.
And so even if Las Vegas was not a frontier town when the railroad was built through here in 1905, Las Vegas is happy to call itself one, if that's what you're looking for.
But how did the citizens of Las Vegas accomplish this feat? This incredible reinvention that celebrated Las Vegas's tenuous Western roots and continued frontier persona in the mid-30s?
And they came up with a special event. They came up with the idea to throw a big party and call it El Dorado.
With parades, rodeos, and dozens of other festivities taking place during this Mardi Gras of the West.
I'd just like to thank the Commission again for allowing me to create this documentary. I'm really proud of it. I also have other projects in the works, so you may be seeing me again soon. So thank you.
And thank you for the deep dive into the distribution and the marketing. I think that those are some of the actions that you've taken and plan to take are ones that we can use in other documentaries as well. You just outlined some great points in what your experience. You know those are workable ones. So we thank you for the details, and I look forward to seeing this on the city's website so I can take some better notes of the action steps you've taken. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll second that comment.
Please. All right, let's start at this end, please. Please, go ahead.
Mills for the record. Ms. Caputo, thank you very much for putting this together. I have many fond memories of El Dorado days when I was a child. I have a picture on my wall in my office at home of my own mom on top of a flamingo float in the late 50s. My comment is, you managed to come in over 30% under budget on this, and I applaud you for that. I'm wondering if there are some additional expenses that might be associated with getting this further distribution, and if maybe we could use part of this money to do that.
That I was told isn't necessarily possible because I put in the original grant. The reason that there was so much money that came back is because I submitted the initial grant for $259,005, and then we came back again and did not change it when we decided not to do a bunch of reenactments, and there was a whole bunch of material that we didn't need to cover when we came back the second time, so we were requesting the original amount of the grant, but we didn't need that much when it came down to it. So we needed what we actually used, but we could definitely, figure out if there was a way to request more money for marketing and everything else, for sure.
But that is the history of it. The initial presentation was going to be for a significant hire actors and do this, an interesting way to do it, but the decision by the commission was let's stay with a traditional historic documentary, which brought the cost down, but we still had that budget. Now, a lot of people would find a way to spend everything in that budget.
Exactly.
The producer decided to take a higher road, so we thank you for that, and that's always a good thing as we look forward.
Thank you.
Other comment, please.
This is Louise Helton for the record. Hey, Heather. I was just, in your wonderful presentation about all the things that you're going to do to make this available to the public, you didn't say YouTube. Are you planning that?
YouTube, it's a little difficult to decide when to go YouTube.
Okay.
Because you really want to release it really carefully. I know we're going to do it on Channel 2 first, and then I'm going to attempt to go to some other release methods. But if you put it right out on YouTube, then everyone's seen it. So it will definitely be on YouTube. It's just a matter of timing at this point.
I don't know if one of the things that's just blown us away is our documentaries that we've been doing decade by decade. They've just been absolutely absorbed by the public, I mean, with 9 million plus views. And we never did anything to promote them.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a wonderful audience that's just going to be hankering for that Eldorado good stuff.
Well, then I will give it to them.
This side of the commission, comments, thoughts? No? Oh, your mic's on. I just thought that's why.
I'll just say this. Did you want recognition?
No.
Oh, Prado did. I just wanted to say, I'd like to look at some of that old footage that you didn't use here. It's selfish. I marched in one of those early 50s parades playing a plastic flute. And I want to know if it possibly could be seen again, because I'd like to destroy them. Thank you.
A couple of quick questions. You said 57 minutes, I think.
Yes.
Did you have, as we look at other documentaries, we didn't set any particular time limit because they weren't necessarily going to be geared for a traditional broadcast television, which is 58:30 with commercial breaks and so forth. Did you have that in mind, or how did you wind up with 57 minutes?
That's the way it actually was edited down. I thought it would end up right around an hour, but then once I started narrowing it down a little bit and tightening it up, it really only needed to be 57 minutes, so that's what I went with. And I figure if need be, I could take some away or add some if it went into commercial broadcast or anything else.
Okay, that's the question. Is there guidance you could give this commission? You've got the experience. We're looking at, probably not looking at 20-minute documentaries. We're looking at more traditionally the hour plus. Is there a time that we should be thinking about a length? Is it 58 minutes or 57 minutes or 60 or?
Well, if you're going to be on, say, Vegas PBS, it's 56 minutes and 24 seconds.
Okay.
So then you would want it very specifically that. It depends. Your best bet is probably to go to where you hope to have it released and ask them specifically what is your exact time that you want, because everyone has, PBS has their funder spots and they have other things that they're showing, and most stations do that. They have very specific periods of time left for commercials, and then everything else is for the program.
Dr. Seabrand, for you, there were a lot of places that this is potentially going to air. The city owns this, is that correct?
Seaburn, from the record, we don't own it, but the grant agreement does require that the grantee give us a copy of the film, which she has, and that we can air it on any of our venues. So it will be aired on Channel 2, and it will go to YouTube, our YouTube channel as well.
But we don't have the copyright on this particular documentary.
Yes, we do have a copy.
No, copyright.
Copyright, we don't have a copyright on this. We just have the permission to use it for our purposes as we see fit.
In the ones where we do have the copyright, I assume that there's a clause in there that says that the city has to approve where it airs. In other words, the producer can't just arbitrarily say we're going to put it on X, or we're going to put it on TikTok, or we're going to show it at an adult movie theater.
For the ones that we have copyrights on?
Right.
I don't believe it says that in the contract specifically. Do you remember, Jeff?
Jeff Dorkak, City Attorney. I don't remember, but the answer is probably that we don't have it, because if you have the copyright, the person would be violating the copyright if they go and air it anyway.
Okay.
Then we would go after them that way. And it sounds like this is a different situation, as you pointed out, Commissioner Stowall, where we Ms. Caputo will keep the copyright, but we have the rights to use it on our platforms as needed.
Okay, but I would think that as we go further, even if we do have the copyright, maybe we ought to think about having an additional, flush that out a bit. And then secondly, maybe think about those that we're strictly funding, that we have some thought about potentially where we, maybe it just gets too deep into the weeds with all this discussion of TikTok and so forth, whether we should have control over where the funding, since the city is funding this, where these things should and should not be seen. But maybe that's a little too deep down into the. But thank you for all of the.
Can I raise? Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you raised the point. I mean, with respect to all of these things we fund, I suspect that many of them are not subject to copyright. Am I correct on that assumption, or is everything that we're funding, whether it's a documentary or whatever it is? I guess what I'm really trying to drive at is the city protected? I know that's your challenge and what you're trying to protect the city, but I mean, ownership, copyright, give me a Cliff Note version of what we've done historically to protect the city's right to, in effect, direct the use of it or even to own it.
Correct, Commissioner Bryan. I think what you're asking dovetails with what Commissioner Stolall mentioned.
Yes, yeah.
The way we protect the city is through the grant agreement for the piece of work that you guys are funding.
Sure.
And then that can come in a couple of ways. Either the commission will own the property outright and have the copyright itself, or the reverse, where the creator will keep the copyright but grant us certain uses. And that would then go with what Commissioner Stolall said. You can start going down a route of making these agreements more and more detailed about, well, you're going to own the copyright, but we're going to use it, but we don't want you to use it here, and you can go back and forth, and that's all perfectly fine to negotiate. To your first point, I suspect everything would have a copyright. The question is just the next one, which would be, well, who owns the copyright? Is it the creator, or did we pick it up when we gave them the grant agreement?
And I take all of this as included in the original contract that we entered into with the person that's getting, or the organization that's getting the grant. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Heather, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to agenda item 1124. Make sure I'm on the right agenda item. No, we are going to agenda item 10.
Yep.
Agenda item 10, which is 24-0144-CLC1, final report by Emmett Gates. He was the director of the documentary Across the Tracks, a Las Vegas West Side Story, and this documentary was funded by the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial. Welcome, Mr. Gates.
How are you?
Good.
I understand there was an issue with the video I sent. I was wondering, is there any way I have the video on my phone, is there any way I can present this to you in that way? If I give you my phone, or can I plug it in somewhere? I apologize. I sent both. I sent an MOV and an MP4. They have the audio.
Sorry, we received it, but it's not working.
Okay.
Jeff, is there something that, not you, Jeff, the other Jeff, is there something that we could do to play with Mr. Gates has on his phone?
Yeah, it's an iPhone. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I would really like for the commission to see the visuals with the audio, if possible. I don't know.
The problem is that it's digital coming out of there. We have an analog system, so I can't get the digital audio out of that.
Okay.
I really can't. Not really.
Okay.
Not in that format, unfortunately.
Right on. Okay. Well. Okay, can we just do some audio, and then I'll tell you when to stop it, and I'll just take it from there. I would really like the visuals to be seen, but if we can't do it, we just have to.
Okay, sorry, just a moment.
We can possibly lay it down and put a mic by it. I mean, we'll see. And I go from the doctor.
Oh, so you don't have the video there, or the audio?
Yeah, we can't pull the file. We might be able to play directly off your
Oh,
phone
okay.
using cameras.
Yeah, I could just do this.
Yeah, actually, what we're going to do is the camera comes from the top, and I'm going to zoom in out of there.
Oh.
So point it this way, and I'll try to
Okay,
turn
so-
it. But we're going to do it right in the center. And then hopefully that's a speaker there.
If we held it in abeyance, would it ever be fixable or no?
Well, I'm assuming, yeah, if we got the digital actual file, we could probably mess with it.
Okay.
Do you want to come back to a later meeting with?
Like I said, I don't want to put anybody out, but,
How crazy is this going to look?
You want to do it? We can do it high for a minute, and you can always see it.
Yeah, let's see if it works at all, and then we'll.
Well, I would love to move forward, but I want to make sure that it's presented properly to you guys. You guys, you guys made this happen, so I want to make sure I respect the commission.
We'd like to see the whole presentation as well.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of in your bailiwick in terms of whether you want to convey it, show us the whole thing as you hope to present it to us,
Okay.
or you want to do it now.
Well, I guess we'll see what this looks like right here. If this works, if it doesn't look too crazy.
If it's in focus, it's just a matter of the volume, I think.
Okay, I'll put the mic down here, and we'll see. Okay, so you guys can see that. Let's move the microphone there. That's the best I can bend it. Let's see what we have.
I have a handheld, too, in case that doesn't pick up either.
Okay.
Out of all the films, I would say out of all the films
You guys can't hear that, guys.
lifetime, this is a must-see for you and your family for generations.
Oh my gosh, I will come and see this documentary.
You can put the phone up higher.
Again and again and bring different people with me every time.
Okay, I go to YouTube all the time and watch the history of Las Vegas. Okay, this is the best one I've ever seen.
I thought it was a great movie.
Is that good? Move the phone up. Okay, I'm going to start it again. I apologize, guys. Right on. Okay, so here we go.
I would say out of all the films that you've seen in a lifetime, this is a must-see for you and your family for generations.
Oh my gosh, I will come and see this documentary again and again and again and bring different people with me every time.
Okay, I go to YouTube all the time and watch the history of Las Vegas. Okay, this is the best one I've ever seen.
I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was a really great movie because I am a native here in Las Vegas.
I mean, I wish my dad was here to witness and see this because he had a lot of information that he told me about, being black and, not being able to do certain things back in the day.
It was phenomenal. That was one of the best documentaries that I've seen. I think that that's something that needs to be put in the schools.
Whether you're in Chicago, whether you're in New York, wherever part of the world you're in, you want to see this film. This is a must-see film.
My favorite part of the movie was when they highlighted the Moulin Rouge. I loved it. I'm really into history, and this film shows the heart of the history of the historic West Side.
It was an amazing film, great production, done eloquently.
Be prepared for a roller coaster of sadness, happiness, and then excitement. So just be prepared. This story was so well told. I did not want to get up out of my seat to leave. It was amazing.
Across the Tracks, a Las Vegas West Side Story is a documentary film by Sliction Culture Productions, made with a grant from the Las Vegas Centennial Commission. The film chronicles the wide scope of Black American history and Las Vegas's unique place in it. Through archival pictures and footage, along with interviews of lifelong residents, historians, and politicians, the audience is given a comprehensive understanding of where we have been, where we are, and where we can go. Cinematographer Robert Perez took great care to ensure that each interview was shot in a way to reflect the individual personalities of each subject, while set designers Dale and Rhea Mathis, along with executive producer Stephen Spahn, provided colorful artworks for the backgrounds. Utilizing the latest in CGI technology and using only existing pictures, we were able to recreate West Side landmarks like the Carver House on Jackson Avenue and the legendary Moulin Rouge, giving the audience a full color and three-dimensional experience of the past. In January of 2024, we had the pleasure of presenting a 37-minute rough cut of the film for audiences at the prestigious Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah.
Film fans from around the world provided great feedback, and while every single one of them knew the city, very few knew this particular history. On February 24th, during Black History Month, we held the first private screening of the film for Las Vegas audiences at the Plaza Hotel and Casino in the very heart of downtown. Attendees included friends and families of the film subjects, community influencers, and many members of the local press. Opening remarks were made by County Commissioner William McCurdy and City Councilman Cedric Creer. The evening sparked interest from many major local news media outlets like PBS, Fox 5, UPN, KNPR, KCEP, On the Corner of Main Street podcast, as well as printed media like the Las Vegas Weekly, the Review Journal, and a host of online blogs. In March, we hosted a one-week test market run at the Galaxy Theaters in the Boulevard Mall, which allowed us to gauge public interest, opinion, and in-film reactions. This set off a slew of positive posts on social media sites, which generated more interest in the project. We made sure that the Centennial Commission was properly represented on all materials related to the film, including ads, flyers, booklets, step and repeats, movie posters, and in both the beginning and end of the film itself. On behalf of the entire Sliction Culture production crew, I would like to thank the Centennial Commission for trusting us with this project. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah, so, right on. Okay, I hope I don't get any feedback from that. But yeah, that's it. It's actually, it was that was in 4K, but I guess that was the best we can do. Right on. Well, first of all, I want to thank the commission for trusting and believing in us to fulfill this history. As you know, the hardest part was compiling all of the history and then having to cut it down to less than 2 hours. That was the toughest part, but we made it through it. The 3D logo that you guys saw at the end there, the commission logo, we would like to gift that to the commission. I don't know if we could put it on your website or I can find a place to host it. So for future filmmakers or people, if they want to use that 3D version, you guys are welcome to use that. That's a gift from us. We had such a great 3D composite artist. He did that for us. I want to thank Dr. C. Brandt and Teresa Smith for putting up with me. I know I was very difficult. There was a lot of stuff I didn't know, and they helped me with that. I don't know if you guys know this as a commission, but you have a comedian amongst your ranks. Hannah Brown provided several points of comedic relief in the film. It's such a difficult history, so we really needed that. I don't know if you remember when I asked you if you were, as a young person, able to go on Jackson Avenue. She was like, no. I was allowed to hang out at Second Baptist Church. And all test audiences laugh audibly at that. So, and on the side, I study comedy, what makes things funny, what makes the audience tick, and you have it naturally. So, I don't even think you were trying to do that.
Well, listen, I'd like to say you were a delight to work with, though.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. No, you were the best. I want to thank Bob Stoddall, and Bob, your materials are with Dr. C. Brandt. So he allowed me to come to his home, and I don't know how many of you have been to his home, but it's a museum of history. I held in my hand an actual postcard signed by Josephine Baker, which was absolutely incredible. Bob won't let you get anything wrong with history. And so I want to thank you, Bob, for that. Councilman Creer for opening his office to us to come talk. As you guys know, the Creer family plays a big part in the history of the historic West Side in Vegas, and we were able to capture that the best we could. And yeah, so we our ambitions were a little too big. We captured the interest of a lot of people, outside of Vegas, because it's a history that that's relevant to the entire country. And so we had to make some changes. I'm working with Dr. Seabrandt now to kind of calm things down, because we've gotten interest from so many people. But we will have the version for Channel 2 within the next few weeks. So, yeah, thank you again for allowing us to do this.
An important part of history, and in addition to being a historic documentary, is also a piece of art. I mean, a lot of documentaries are wonderful because they really tell a story, and they're documentaries. They're documentaries. Nothing wrong with that. I endorse that 100% as a starting point. But yours also is a piece of art, and it's slightly different, but certainly within the framework of a historic documentary. It's not like it's over there. It's just some of the artwork is just wonderful. So thank you for on both those levels.
Right on. I appreciate that. Yeah, my whole team is artists. Some of my members couldn't be here today, but you guys know Mr. Spahn and Robert Perez there, who's a cinematographer. Yeah, we're all artists, so we think outside the box. We were the kids who, we had a science project. We'd have to go above and beyond to try to show off. Yeah. So.
Well, your showing off did real well. So thank you.
Right on. And we look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say what an amazing job you all did. The quality of the work that you did, especially considering, relatively speaking, the budget is not the biggest of budgets that you had, but I think you guys exceeded the quality of the budget that you were given. You've seen a lot of documentaries, and they sometimes look like documentaries. I think that you guys can take this and present it and put it on any platform that's out there. Like, it's ready to go. There's another documentary on CNN right now about Las Vegas. I'm sure you all have seen it, and I'm sure their budget was tremendously greater than what you had. But you could take what you did now and put it on CNN or Hulu or Amazon or Netflix or Paramount or whatever, and it would be ready to go. So I applaud you all for that, and I applaud you all for telling the story of a story that's been told, but not in the manner that you all did it. I've had so many people who literally are sitting watching the documentary, where they were at Galaxy, and they're texting me during the watching, tell me how great of a job you guys have done. And I literally have gotten that, maybe a half a dozen times of people. Everybody that I've spoken to has talked about what a great documentary it is. My uncle loves it. My brother loves it. People who have seen it are just like blown away. And that's very, very impressive. It's an investment that the Centennial Commission has made, which is extremely well served, because you guys literally lived up to the quality of what we want to be shown. And to all of you just publicly thank all of the neighbors and residents and citizens, including Hannah Brown and others, and Jackie Brantley and so many others, that gave their time to contribute towards this, because I think all of them were great. And you got a lot of different personalities, and it came out. You guys brought that out of a lot of people. So it's great. From a person that grew up in this community like Hannah and spent a lot of time in the historic West Side, it's just nice to see that a quality project has been created to summarize at least a brief summary of our deep, rich history. There's a lot more stories to be told. Hopefully you all will continue to tell them. So thank you all very, very much. Greatly appreciate it. As a resident, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you so much.
Please.
Mills for the record. I second my fellow commissioners applauding your work here, Mr. Gates, and I have to say that you're the second person to stand in front of us and coming in under budget on this great project. How'd you manage to do that?
That artist. So we'll cut corners. We'll go above and beyond. So. Now, and just so you guys know, Dr. Seabrandt has a link for you. She might have sent it to you, but if you didn't get it for whatever, she has it. There's a private Vimeo link with the password. You guys are, welcome to see it for those who haven't. Now, we do have to make some changes for Channel 2. Because some of those things that we still have to budget outside, since the original contract didn't cover certain expenses as far as, copyrights and stuff like that. So we had to raise outside capital, and we're still trying to raise it. But but like I said, with my team, we're able to make things look good for a small budget.
I think that's one of the opportunities that all of our documentary producers have learned. They have the topic, they have the intellect, they have the skill, and then there's all the other stuff that goes into a documentary with the copyrights and all that stuff. But so please.
This is Louise Helton for the record, and again, that was. I know that you felt it was compromised, but it was very captivating, and I can't wait to see it. I just was wondering, I don't think there's any direction given to anyone who gets our grants that when they do have private showings or whatever, that you might want to invite the commissioners.
Oh, I thought I did.
I didn't.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't have everybody's individual, contacts. But and I'm going to tell you the mistake I made, because Dr. C. Bratt, she sweated me. I hired a PR company, and then they assured me that they would make sure it got to you, and it got to Dr. C. Bratt. She was like, "Wait a minute, why am I hearing it from this person?" So it kind of got a little confusing. But yeah, that was my fault. And
no, I don't even think it was a fault. To me, it's just one of those things that, when you sit up here for a while, you realize, we should probably put that in the grant, that anyone who does that should,
right,
automatically invite. And if I missed it, I'm sorry, but that was really wonderful.
Yeah, that was my fault. I said, it was
an opportunity for the future.
It's just a comment and an opportunity to, as we go forward, to make sure that we do get invited to all of those things. I mean, you can't make it to everything, but it's wonderful to.
Mr. Gates, thank you.
Looked like a great event. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you so much.
Look forward to your next documentary.
I'm sorry?
I look forward to your next documentary.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we got ideas to come back. We'll probably be back in summertime for you guys. There were so many, as Councilman Creer mentioned, we interviewed a lot of people, and each person is so interesting. We did for like 40 interviews. Each person had a biography that was so interesting. Unfortunately, we can only fit in a few lines per person, so we're going to be cutting some short mini biographies for UNLV to go into the special collections, so we get that history here. But thank you guys so much.
I would like to say, though, that one of the things I respected the most is a lot of times when people interview you, they want to tell you what your memory is of your community, but you were very respectful of our memories, and that is definitely an asset.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right. Commission, we will be back. We got some ideas. Thank you so much.
Let's move on to agenda item 11. 24-0146-CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding amending the memorandum of understanding between the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial and the Historic Preservation Commission of the City of Las Vegas to increase the funding request to $150,000 and authorizing the President to execute the grant agreement as approved by the City Attorney, all wards. Who's the President?
Sorry. Are you reading? First of all, number 11 and 12 are kind of related, but the President is Mayor Goodman right now.
Is the mayor, okay. I'm just reading 11. Unless advice from the attorney that I can put both of them together.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. Item 12 then is discussion for possible action regarding approval of the grant request for $150,000 by the City of Las Vegas by acting by and through its Historic Preservation Commission for costs associated with supporting a variety of historic preservation initiatives and authorizing the President to execute the grant agreement as approved by the City Attorney, all wards. Will we be voting on two separate motions, or can this be a combined motion?
This will be two separate motions, two separate items. The first one is going to be the memorandum of understanding. The second will be the actual money, I believe, if I'm correct, Dr. Seabrand, right?
That's correct. So first, Seabrand, for the record, we have the memorandum of understanding that was originally signed between the Commission and the Historic Preservation Commission. And since it was originally signed in 2003, I believe it was, there's been an increase in activity from the Commission, from the Historic Preservation Commission. And so we are asking for that amendment for the memorandum of understanding. We'll change the wording on it to up it to $150,000. And then that's the first vote. And then the second vote would be the actual grant agreement that was submitted.
So the first one amends the existing agreement and would look for a motion on that.
This is Louise Helton for the record. I so moved.
We have a motion. Further discussion? We have a second.
Question, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah. This is listed as an increase. Is it an increase of 150,000 or an amount up to 150,000?
So it was originally $75,000, then that was another $25,000 added, so it's for a total of $150,000.
Okay, including the previous amount.
Including the previous, so we're just upping the amount, correct. We are not adding another 150 to the 75.
Further questions, comments? If not, we have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with the chair voting with those in attendance in favor. Then we'll move on to agenda item 12. We've amended the agreement. Now this is approving the agreement, 24-0071. Action regarding approval of the grant request for $150,000 by the Centennial Commission by the Historic Preservation Commission for a variety of historic preservation initiatives, and authorizing the president to execute the grant agreement. So we'll look for a motion.
Move for approval.
We have a motion from Commissioner.
Excuse me, was that Commissioner Coffin?
Commissioner Coffin?
Thank you.
Second?
Second. Further discussion? General public?
This is Louise Helton for the record. I was just wondering, did you all have something in mind for the additional funds?
The funding that has been used, and I think there should be probably a presentation to the commission, has been on several neighborhood studies. Whether it was the Charleston Heights, one is currently working on East Las Vegas, another one on West Las Vegas. And the one we did on Charleston Heights, we found within that large neighborhood, I think there were 86 different developments. In the 50s and 60s, there was a community of homes, houses, a development by the architect Charles May, which are, I was going to say very unique, but there's nothing very unique. They are unique. And we're having meetings with those folks to see whether or not they want to have their own historic district. The second thing that the city is doing, the historic preservation is using these funds for, we're looking at amending all of the National Register of Historic Places that are within the city of Las Vegas on the National Register. We have one coming up this week, the first draft of updating and correcting the West Side School. It has two distinct elements that are being amended. The first is the wonderful material, things that have taken place since 2016 to restore that. And again, if you have not been into that school and taking yourselves back to 1923 when it was opened, and it's just an amazing job. And the second thing is to really, I think as the councilman was talking about, is really include the full history of Las Vegas Grammar School Branch Number 1, as it was called. it has the special quality of being, this school is the mirror of what the schools were on 4th Street in 1920s. And they took that design and simply carried it over to the West Side School, and now that West Side School is a reflection of what we had in downtown. The other one we're working on, I think we're going to get a report in October, is the Old Mormon Fort. That one, again, was written back in 1966, was actually the first City of Las Vegas property that made it on the National Historic Register of the Department of the Interiors. But the document is only about 3 or 4 pages long, and it deserves a full history. That site was used from when the Mormons arrived there, obviously in 1855. It was used as part of the Boulder Dam, Helen Stewart, and the railroad. I mean, it's just some wonderful history that needs to be expanded. So we're looking at each one and seeing which ones need to be updated. So that's how the funding is going. A long answer. But.
Perfect answer. I love
Good.
hearing all of that. Thank you.
Did we vote?
No.
Oh. All right, we have a motion.
Unless somebody else wants something to say.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with the chair voting in favor.
This is kind of related to your, if I may speak. The funding to host the premiere, where and when, exactly the dates?
Well, let's get into agenda item number 13, which is 24-0147 CLC.
Did I jump the gun? I'm so sorry.
No, that's where we're going. We're just right on the gun. Although I don't like that phrase.
Under the gun?
Discussion for possible action regarding approval of a request from staff for funding of up to $12,000 to host the premiere of the documentary film, The City of Las Vegas, the 1960s, and we would hold it at the historic 5th Street School located at 401 South 4th Street. Dr. Seabrand?
Thank you, Seabrand, for the record. So yes, this is our next installation of our City of Las Vegas documentary film series, the 1960s. We are requesting up to $12,000. We don't have a set price yet, but we probably will go under that, but we need to ask for up to that just in case we do need it. It will be an in-person premiere for 100 VIPs and their guests, and it will be on Saturday, May 18th. Reception starts at 6 p.m. and the film starts at 7 p.m. And as always, this will be broadcast simultaneously on our Channel 2 and the other streaming platforms. And as Communications has done in each previous year, is they'll play all of the documentaries on Channel 2 before this one airs. Great. So the historic 5th Street School at 401 South 4th Street is where the premiere would be. And this is the exterior. In the interior theater, it seats up to 140 people. And the reception space, depending on the weather, can be either inside or outside, depending how hot it is on May 18th. And this is the logo from our last movie, the 1950s, but just as a reminder to everybody how very popular these movies are, with over 6 million views for the very first one, and millions of views on the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s combined. And the budget is for, we will have to pay for parking. There's a parking garage across the street from the school that we'll use to validate everybody's parking as well as the catering. And all we need is a vote on this item. Thank you.
Questions, comments? If not, look for a motion.
Go on.
One comment.
Oh.
This is Louise Helton for the record. I just wanted to suggest that we, this is obviously during the Centennial, or our birthday month, using that May date is wonderful. And we have these other 2 wonderful films that have also just are going to be available, and we should at least promote them at that event. I don't suggest doing a double or triple feature, but it'd be great to make sure we capture our audience and let them know about the other 2 films.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you asked.
I was just suggesting that we take the opportunity to promote the other 2 films at this event. That's all.
All right, we have a motion.
I've got a question.
Please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I admit that 12,000, as the lawyers would say, is a de minimis amount. I guess the question I have is, number one, has there been any effort made to have those who have done an excellent job but have made quite a bit of money from the commission to share in this expense? I mean, is that an unprecedented thing? Or have we in the past provided money to host, in effect, it's a wonderful event. I'm not objecting to the event, but it's just a question I have in my own mind. For $12,000, it seems to me some of the folks who have made a lot of money from this ought to kind of pony up.
Well, let me clarify. This is the movies that we are paying for, that this commission hired Boyd Productions to produce.
We were paying for it, yeah.
So it's ours, but we pay them to produce the movies for us. So we wouldn't require Boyd Productions to pay for the premiere, because it is our
I'm not suggesting that
film.
we require. just a question, I mean, a shared amount, but the amount's so small, it's probably not worth us taking the time, but I know, wait a minute, we both benefit from this. Why don't you kick in half the effort? But if we haven't done that, I don't want to delay it. I intend to support the motion.
And let me just add that $250,000, $270,000, $280,000 to produce a documentary, we're not at the top of the list. I mean, I would. We're getting a good buy. We're getting a real good deal for that. We're getting our money's worth, and the city staff, the members of the working committee are making sure that we get the best that we can for that. If you've seen the ones that are on CNN, I'd estimate that the budget on those is well higher than $500,000 for each of those budgets, and our quality, the work that Boyd has done stands the test of time. So we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Excuse me, who made the motion, please?
Bob Coffin. Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with the chair voting with those in attendance. Speaking of the documentaries, agenda item 14, 24-0148 CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of the contract number 240197-DG in the amount of $1,450,760.68 to Boyd Production to produce 7 through 10, the documentary film series, the 1970s, 80s, 90s, and 2000 and up to 2005 of the history of the city of Las Vegas, the Centennial, and authorizing the president to execute the contract as approved by the city attorney. Dr. Seabrand?
Thank you. So the commission did approve this funding already, and this is just the contract that needs to be approved. And once that's approved, we'll get the proper signatures, and we're moving forward with the rest of the movies.
Look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion of the senator and a second from Hannah Brown.
Discussion on
Further
the motion?
discussion? Yes, Bob
Yeah, thank
Coffin.
you very much. Yeah, I was hoping to raise this before a motion was made, but it's probably okay. I just think that, again, I've expressed this feeling before, that the more recent documentaries are questionably documentaries in the sense that they are now, the power structure here in all aspects is very much in the prime. And for those last 3 decades particularly, I worry that you get influence on a documentary from people who had a role to play then and want to make sure they're in it, because they're around now to lobby, and they know about these things. So, my question is are we really doing the right thing going so new into a so-called history documentary? That's again a problem I have, but I'm going to, like Senator Bryan says a little while ago, I'll go ahead and vote for the motion, but I wanted to make sure you knew that I feel it's not right to do it this way.
Well, I looked at the 1980s and 1970s. That's 40 years is what the city of Las Vegas considers historic. 50 years is what the state of Nevada considers historic. And there is a filter that Boyd Production uses when selecting people to interview. It's not just whoever raises their hand It's, for example, one of the things that they're looking at in the 1970s is we became, in many ways, a secondary economy was producing films. I saw it was on the front page of the RJ a couple of days ago that Sony wants to do that. Well, we were doing lots of films in the 1970s. They were coming up. Hollywood once again found Las Vegas like they did in the 1940s. Up till that point, Reno was the go-to place. But once again, in the 60s and in the 70s, I think there were probably a dozen or more significant films, including the James Bond film, Diamonds Are Forever, I think it was called. So there's a filter when we look for an expert who could talk to us about that. Well, there are a lot of people that can talk about filmmaking, but the object here is, what does it mean to the city of Las Vegas? What does it mean to the community? How were we marketed and those kinds of things? So it's not just an expert on films. We'll look for people that can say, it had this impact on the community, or the community thought about it in this way, they went to see it, or whatever. So the whole idea is to filter the guests out to make sure that we think about it as the city, not just the topic. And so I think your comment is clear and is something that we need to take in consideration so that doesn't occur to what you're saying. So we will make sure and make sure you're also in the loop on it as we move forward. So I think we have a motion, and we look, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously with the chair voting with those in attendance and in favor. Item 15. Report by the Executive Director of the Commission for the Centennial, Las Vegas, regarding completed projects and announcements relative to the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial. Dr. Seabrand?
Mr. Chairman, Seth Floyd for the record. So I actually have one update, and then I'll turn it over to Diane. Over the last couple of meetings, we've had some robust discussions about the Centennial Commission website, and which culminated in a small group, I guess I'll call it, meeting with staff and with several appointed members of the commission. And I wanted to give you, we're going to give a full report on this with a test drive through the new website at the next meeting, but I wanted to tell you where we are for now, because I think we've made some significant progress since we had those conversations. So a couple of decision points that we made that I think will help us move this along. One is that we have created/updated the Centennial Commission's landing page on the city's website. So if you were to go to that website right now, which, like I said, we'll walk you through this in detail and pull it up on the screen next time, you would see that that page has been revamped and revitalized with some new information, including a historic timeline that has links to all the documentaries that are easy to access, information about the Centennial grants, which we are still working on building out, the current and previous grant awards that the Centennial Commission has given over the years. Again, that is still being built out, but the link is there, and so the infrastructure is there. And then some basic information about the commission, the members list, and the commission schedule. We've also gone through, several of you have provided some comments on the former version of the website with some feedback for improvements. We've removed a lot of the redundancies that you identified and cleaned up some of the things that were either in the wrong place or were otherwise inaccurate. So we've gone through and done a pretty comprehensive cleanup. Other updates that are still in progress include gathering all the information that we have compiled about the grants that the Centennial Commission has issued over the last few years, or since the beginning, actually, since 2005, and gathering further content for the historic timeline. So that's where we are as of right now. A couple of other points on that. We are meeting one more time, at least one more time, with the small group in April to go through all of this and then start working on the process for building out the pages that we have, because Diane and her team have a lot of information that we just need to work through, and Nina, I see Nina is sitting here as well. Nina has been assigned, whether she's voluntold, I guess, that she is going to also be assisting with this project. And we're looking for potentially some other internal staff resources that, at least at the beginning, we can put on this project to help identify where that information is and get it into a format that we can use. I think importantly, we've also identified the staff internally, both on our team and on communication, in our communications team who manages our overall website, who's going to be working on this. That just makes the process of updating the website really simple and clean. And then we can make, if there's any further input, feedback, or possibly financial resources that we need to take this to the next level, we will come back to the commission at a future date with a request for that. But we're going to brief the small group again and get through some more of the details, and then we'll do a full walkthrough of the website at our next Centennial Commission meeting in May.
3 points. One is there was some angst by several members of this commission, including myself, regarding the length of time it's taken to move forward. That has been totally erased. This is an action plan moving forward. The members of the committees, Louise Helton, actually it wasn't a committee, just a group of, as well as Ryan Arnold and Councilman Creer, all helped move this project forward. And there are really two elements to it. One element is, as Seth mentioned, getting everything cleaned up, getting organized, getting up and making it as user-friendly as possible, including the grant application. To me, the bigger step is part two, and that's the maintenance of that site and making sure it just doesn't fall into disrepair or get out of date. We meet every 3 months, and lots of action is taken. These documentaries would appear on that website. These reports would appear on the website. So there needs to be two parts. Getting it all cleaned up and all organized, as Seth said, he's going to bring back to this commission for our oversight. And then secondly, the plan, and that may take some requests for ongoing staffing funds. So we look forward to that. But if I could just reflect what the working group said, we are moving forward with this, and large thanks to Dr. Seagrant and Seth and the team over there, and Nina for her work on that. Any other comments? Okay.
I still have my presentation, though.
Right.
Okay.
And I was going to ask Seth, is there anything more?
Unless anybody has anything else for Seth.
Diane, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. So these are the outstanding Centennial projects that are being funded. We'll have the report on the radio documentary at our May meeting. The Mob Museum documentary is due in June. The La Concha Lobby, that should be completed in August. The West Side Design Guidebook is in progress. And then several upcoming events. The 2024 Home in History is April 24th through the 27th. The Eldorado Days Parade is on May 11th. As just previously discussed, the 1960s documentary is May 18th. And then the rodeo is later this year on November 8th and 9th. And as I mentioned earlier, the Road to Eldorado is going to be on KCLV. Again, these were all emailed to everybody, so hopefully you can catch one of these showings or record it. And you can go to KCLV.TV where you can find other information of how to watch the film. Just wanted to let this commission know, as Chair Stodel was saying earlier about what the HPC funds. This house is called the Christensen House. It's in the historic West Side. It's 500 West Van Buren. It was just added to the National Register of Historic Places, and it is in the process right now of being added to our local register, which that will be finalized in April. And
Dr. Seagrant, that house is located specifically, what's the address?
500 West Van Buren Avenue.
Yeah, it's a few blocks from where
It's Sorry?
No, Senator Bryan just was
Oh,
asking.
yes. It's very unique. It's very beautiful. It's difficult to see it, though, from the street because there's a lot of trees. But if you're on the sidewalk, you can see it. And the owners there are very generous and would let you in if you wanted to take a look.
And just to take a personal note here, what's also beautiful are the owners of the facility and how much they care and love the history of that, what took place there, and are preserving it. And you can just see it in the tone of voice and their eyes of how much they want to make sure that this place is preserved.
Yes, we just did a Channel 8 interview 2 weeks ago, I think it was. That was, if anybody happened to catch that, myself and the owner were giving Channel 8 the information on that property. So it's generated a lot of interest, and deservedly so.
No.
And then...
I have a question.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Before you left that slide, I wanted to ask you a question. Thank you. Thank you. It is, the stone tower looks so out of place compared to the construction of the main house. Was it added later? Was there any question about that?
No, this was built by the owners, and they built it in what's called a French eclectic style, which is why you have the tower there. It was built with local materials from the stones taken from the railroad, and it's made to look that way. That's why it's added to the register, because it is incredibly unique.
Good. I just think that's a good story to tell, that it is original. It doesn't look to me, but
No, it's original. I mean, the house has undergone a few alterations over time. Right. I mean, it was built in the 30s, but everything you're looking at there is original, especially the tower.
And if you take the picture at a slightly different angle, it becomes more together. I mean, if you go off to the left and take that corner of the roof, and then but they're also the National Register for Historic Places. Is available. The entire document is available on site, I think.
And you can also, it's on our website as well. You can read about the house there as well. So, and then the next slide. So this, I believe Commissioner Stoddal, you were the one that asked for the views of our movies over time. And so this chart, I have several slides here that show the viewing. So this is the early years, and you can see that it spiked in the summer, starting when this one was released in May of 2019. Then the next we have the 1920s views, and so you see that there's interest again in the summer. Maybe people are wanting to watch it when it's hot outside. And then we have the 30s. Surprisingly,
hold on for a second, but even when it drops down, we're still talking about 40, 50,000 views.
Yes. And then here we have the 40s, and again, this is the views start when we put the videos on YouTube. And then here's all the films. So it's the early years as the film that has generated the most views and the most interest out of all of them, interestingly enough.
Yeah, it's interesting that the 1940s, the war years didn't seem to be as...
No, it's not as popular for some reason.
They were away on other business, Bob. Refresh your memory.
And then, this is for Mike.
So rather quickly, so for the 2023 year for the Mayor's Urban Design Awards, we had a unique circumstance. So typically there's 4 categories for what we call the MUDAs. One of the categories is historic preservation and adaptive reuse. What was unique this year is we had 3 winners, and I'll kind of explain why. The Golden Steer, this is with the Signorelli family, designed by Carpenter Sellers Delgado Architects. They did a very, very detailed, wonderful job from a historic preservation point of view, even though the property's not yet listed on the historic register. So we wanted to recognize that, and that I think we all have a little bit of a place in our heart for the Golden Steer. So they were awarded the Historic Preservation Award. Not included, we had, for the adaptive reuse, we had the Bent Inn. It was part of an apartment complex over in Ogden and 11th Street They did a wonderful job for adaptive reuse, but then as you see the carousel bar, again, with the mayor's discretion and her direction, because it is her award ceremony, we wanted to recognize the carousel bar because it was a adaptive reuse of the porte cochere, but also as a historic preservation element because they really just did a fabulous job. And this, you're all familiar, is the entry facing the other Centennial Commission work where we have the flipping art pieces at the opening of the Fremont Street experience.
Okay, great.
And that's everything. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, let's move on to agenda item 16. Discussion regarding topics for future agenda items. Comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual commission members shall refer solely to proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion shall be limited to whether or not such proposed items are within the purview of the commission and or whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any proposed topic shall occur, and no action shall be taken. Are there any items that the commission would like to have on future agenda items, topics? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've always believed that prostitution was indelibly embedded in our town from the very beginning. Embedded, that was a choice of words. And I feel like we should be discussing it. I think we should. Frankly, I believe in the regulation and the legalization of, but I got my head cut off in Carson City for that, but I still believe it. And I think that if you look at the history of it, it's just remarkable, you know, what there is. And so I don't think there's any shortage of source material if one wants to start working on it, if people are interested.
I'm not sure if you're suggesting a documentary on the history of prostitution in Las Vegas?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that Nevada prostitution...
testifying as an expert witness, Bob?
I'd be happy to talk about Lathrop Wells, but I can't go this far here. So my point being, I see some laughter on the line down there.
Well, I mean, the reality of what the councilman is talking about is at the top of the list of being important to the early history of our community with Block 16. And I'll take 10 seconds. Block 16 occurred because of the brother of Senator William Clark, J. Ross Clark, believed, and he tried to push in 1904, no alcohol should be sold in Las Vegas. And the Union Pacific said, in polite terms, are you crazy? That won't occur. And so they said, okay, we'll ban it out as sale, except for Block 16 and Block 17. And then they inserted a little asterisk in the deeds, and it said, well, if you have a hotel and a restaurant, then you can serve alcohol. So we quickly had very small hotels open up on Fremont Street, and their restaurant was selling or giving away food at lunch. What occurred then, because Block 16 no longer was a primary source of alcohol, they looked at other opportunities for revenue, and it was prostitution. And because the town was made up of approximately 300 paid railroad workers, most of them were single men, there was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that opportunity lasted through Prohibition, and then the city of Las Vegas tried to move it down onto the Meadows in 1931 to get it out of the city. That didn't work. There was an effort to put it into West Las Vegas. That didn't work. So my point is, without going down the rabbit hole too much, there is an interesting historical foundation for prostitution, soiled doves in Las Vegas. I'm not necessarily suggesting we do a documentary, but it wouldn't be unreasonable. But I don't think we should necessarily endorse prostitution.
Well, thank you for that long answer. It's not just a minute now. I'm not looking for an endorsement of prostitution here. It's part of our history, and it is an
But to add a
indelible
footnote to your
part of
column, there was a
history.
big issue in the 1954 district attorney's race. George Dickerson and my father were contesting in the Democratic primary that year.
For Attorney
And
General?
Dickerson and the candidate for sheriff, who was going to replace the previous holder, Glenn Jones, indicated if they were elected, they would close prostitution in the county. And shortly after they were elected, they went out to what we call 4 Mile. And the owner was Eddie Clippinger, and his wife was the Madam and Roxy. If you go to Samstown today, the cocktail lounge is named Roxy's, and that is the area. And they closed, and Searchlight, the brothels that Harry Reid is often talking about that his mom took in the laundry, the El Crystal and the El Rey clubs. There's quite a bit of history. That really ended it, and then tried to come back later, as you know, with Conforti.
You see, I see an appetite on your part to consider, should a proposal be made sometime, that maybe we could consider it, because it is part of. And by the way, I've got to tell you that I've talked to the Vice Squad people several times at Metro, and they absolutely say, please make it legal so we can regulate it. But it has to be done by the legislature. Thank you.
Okay. The agenda item is 16, so you're...
Your mic, please.
The agenda item is 16, so you're asking for this to be on a future agenda item? All right, we'll move right along to item 17. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in terms of the documentary...
Excuse me.
Catholic Charities was formed in 1942 as a nonprofit for the USO here, and it grew into a social service agency. It had many spots in town in Las Vegas. It ended up at 808 South Main, and what they used to do is queue up the homeless for the soup kitchens. The city fathers at the time decided, well, we're going to assist that agency, and then they moved down and eventually ended up at the Old Vegas Village site at Las Vegas Boulevard North and Owens there, where the site was today. One thing led to another, and it's probably the largest, long-lasting private social service agency in the state of Nevada. And it was redesigned in 1995 to try to accommodate the demands coming up on the 21st century with the kitchen and everything else. It's a great story on how Las Vegas and the city of Las Vegas in particular collaborated to do that. At the same time, the other jurisdictions, you know what their solutions for the homeless was? Like Henderson? Yeah, give them a bus ticket to Las Vegas. Anyway.
So I think that the action item
Excuse me, your mic, please.
The action item that I'm hearing is that we need to have some process to move forward with additional documentaries. I'm not sure how we would do that, but as we have done the first 6 or 7, each one of those, there were 2 or 3 topics in there that could be full-fledged documentaries that we just did 2 or 3 minutes on. But I think we need to come up with, now that we have funded the last of the decade documentaries, a thought, a process on how we want to move forward on future documentaries. Rather, do we wait and let the general public just sort of pitch the idea, or does that come from the commission? So I think we just need, that would be the general, rather than the Catholic Charities one or the prostitution one, is how do we move forward in the next step? Please.
This is Louise Helton for the record. I think that this points back to something that we've done and talked about before, as far as having some kind of a strategic plan so that we do have some designs on what we want to do. We don't want to just be known for just doing documentaries, although we've been very successful in doing RFPs for specific documentaries. That's how we got Boyd and all of these decade programs that we've created. But I think that we do need to broaden our net.
So I think that's a topic also being recommended for a future agenda item, would be the moving forward on some sort of a strategic plan. So those are 2 elements in how we move forward with documentaries, how we move forward with a strategic plan. maybe one is connected to the other. So, further comments, thoughts? If not, let's move on to citizen participation. I don't know what the rules are, but there are no citizens here, so I don't necessarily think
Fabulous Nina.
I would be more than happy to read that, but I think that this is the place for public comment, citizen participation. Let the record show there are no members of the public that are here. And then we'll move on to agenda item 18, and the Mayor's Journal says meeting adjourned. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's... Aggressive work is never forward on a plan to present to us.